now, and I am the UK board member and representative to Icator. Icator are a government-registered human rights association based in Belgium, working in human rights internationally and towards an international class action lawsuit for victims of electronic harassment, more commonly known nowadays as Havana syndrome. I met Amy Holem early on in my situation, and I realised the importance of her work, having worked with audio myself in the past. I paid her for her services and got my own report, and she was able to gather important details about my situation and how it is being achieved. So in short, what Amy's doing is capturing embedded within audio files the radio communications of those involved using the technologies associated with these crimes. They are logged into chat rooms via an illegal platform, having registered using cryptocurrency, and the communications are a byproduct. They are usually hidden way below human hearing level in the infrasound ranges, and they can be cleaned and transcribed, and the details captured are they're from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So the audio statement she's captured for myself and many others, they are in real time. And that basically means that what they're doing is discussing what is taking place at the time the recording was created. So Amy, if you could kindly move down to the next slide, that would be great. Okay, so having already paid Amy for an initial report and learning about its content, I then had a conversation with her about a second report. We had a long conversation about what was the best type of file to send to her. And we agreed a recorded phone call would be the best type of file, most fruitful, purely because if these communications are present in a phone call, it proves hacking and eavesdropping. So she conducted another audio analysis for me and compiled a report. And if you could move on to the next slide for me, Amy. So as you can see here, there are some statements listed. There are many audio statements captured in this. There are over 300, but we've just selected a few well-selected ones for today's presentation. There are details about technologies, who's using and providing the technologies, what is happening at the time, about my own devices, surveillance, and much more. One aspect we'd like to focus on today are two statements that were captured. One is the word rapier, and the other one is the word harpoon. When we're talking about a rapier, it is a type of drone. We don't know if it's this exact one. It could simply be a term that's being used. It could be their own version of this type of drone, or it could be from one of the many manufacturers making drones like these. Its main use usually is the recovery of disabled drones and taking them back to the location where they belong. And another statement that was captured is the word harpoon. And the reason we find this important and rather compelling is that from some of the statements captured, which are actual conversations, they're not just random statements, we believe there may be a rogue team within the team assigned to me who are trying to stop certain activities that they're doing with these technologies. The word harpoon, it's not anything associated with phishing. It is a weapon, or rather a disarming tool. It will send a signal in the air to an active drone, disabling it and making it free fall to the ground. And this is hence the possibility of other recovery drones being used. So along with this statement and other statements such as they shot our main, which is listed, I believe, on the next slide, we believe there is a rogue team within the team assigned to myself. And at this point, I would just ask if Amy could go into some details about the use of these two technologies. There is a full page image coming up on the next slide.
All right. So the basics of the rapier, it has different surveillance tools that are accompanied inside of it. Basically, it has EOIR sensors, FLIR detection systems. It can track up to 1,500 people at one time. And it mainly is used in the military as a recovery drone. So if it had a drone, a down drone, like a mini drone, or not a large plane, but like more like mini drones that are in distress. They can easily pick it up with a net and then carry it back to the user remotely. It does a lot of different strobe signals out within it, and it also works within long and short range. Short range would be 1,500 kilometers, while the long range would be anywhere from 2,500 kilometers to 5,500 kilometers, depending on the network that it is attached to. So the harpoon weapons are more of an anti-drone weapon. Basically, how there are three different types of harpoons. There's harpoon 2, harpoon 3 currently at this time, since 2004. And the harpoon weapon is an anti-drone weapon, which basically you aim the gun at the drone. You would have a signal analyzer or a aerial management system that can identify the drones. Then that would be aimed at the drones, and you would send a signal out there to jam their signals, kind of like a signal jammer. So it would lock onto their signals, jam it, and then that would decapacitate the drones. And it would actually, if drones are autonomous, they have self-healing application systems through the artificial intelligence sequences. So, and the different type of programming in there. So it kind of depends on what type of drone, what capabilities that drone has, and what that use will be, because the signal will either cause it to spin out, do rotations, and cause it to crash, or it would just move it on into a different area out of that range to where it couldn't hit that target anymore. So anti-drone weapons are very, very useful, especially within modern warfare. And when they're attacking civilians, this is used more on the military side for that. I believe are we on the,
Yeah.
okay. Go ahead, Alison.
Okay, so the image we've got here is a clear-cut image of how different tools are used to monitor and surveil victims of these crimes. Amy's just basically explained things. So the next area that we'd like to talk about is to do with certain statements that were captured in this particular report to do with hacking. So there are some statements which will come up on the next slide, which depict that whoever is involved in my situation know what is going on. They know I'm making a call, they know what the call's about, they know it's being recorded, they know where I am, and much more. So for me, in terms of hacking, I've experienced my mouse cursor being taken over, screenshots being taken in front of me, my audio interface is disabled, so I can't do my work, strange network activity, and within phone calls, I do very often hear these communications not below human hearing level, but sitting right on the top of the recording. I can hear statements that are not being spoken by myself or the other end of the phone call, whoever I'm talking to. Typically, there are statements such as synced it or the call is connected, and quite often the term "we are naked." This is not a person saying I'm sat here with a headset on naked. They're saying that they're aware that their communications can be heard within the phone call. Actually, the next guest speaker, his name is Barry Trower. He's ex-MI5. So he helps victims of these crimes around the world. And the first thing he will say to them is to throw away your smartphone. Nobody ever actually does this, but he really does mean it. I have conducted many rather simple experiments, such as leaving my devices at home inside a paint tin and then going to a cave, going underwater. I've been inside a Faraday cage. I've removed all electronics from my home. And it's very apparent to me that a person's own devices can be utilized to achieve these things. And if you remove them from the equation, whoever's doing this has to resort to other methods to continue with it. And then with this in mind, if we could move on to the next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so during this phone call, I was struggling to breathe. It felt like my heart was being crushed. It was beating very fast, and it was making me need to sort of speak very fast while I was on the phone. I have no frame of reference to a heart attack, but this was very artificial in nature based on the sheer speed that certain elements were happening. I have got numerous blood tests which depict quite serious muscle damage to my heart, though. I do recall during the phone call, whilst on hold, making the statement that I was having severe chest pains. And the main statement that we're going to focus on here, which you can see on the slide, is simply pain through phone. There are the other statements that can corroborate this and back this up. But what was going on with me at the time that this phone call was made was fully in line with this. And Amy, I believe the next slide has an image on it. And if you could go into details about how devices are used for this purpose, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
So basically the pain through the phone, we'll start off with this one right here. The proximity sensors and the infrared emitters. The cell phones have all different capabilities that are built inside, and inside your specifications of that cellular device, there are different sensors. And these are usually your proximity, your accelerometers, your gyroscopes that are in there, any form of biometrics, fingerprints, identification, metaphone, different sensors for different companies and corporations. So when I was analyzing Alison's phone, they were using the infrared emitter, which was attached to the proximity sensor inside the cell phone to attack her heart and hit different areas of her body, from her neck, from her chest, and to simulate heart attacks. She was giving palpitations. What the proximity sensor does, it shows the range and the distance from the person's cell phone to the person's body. And these proximity sensors can gauge up to anywhere from 20 to 50 feet currently at this time. At that time when we did the recording, it was only 20 feet, but since then they have expanded it with the new technology that is coming out. So the infrared emitters, everybody has them built into their phones, whether you don't realize that you have Doppler radar systems that are built into your weather maps. Every time you check your weather, that's a Doppler radar system that is built inside of your cell phone. If you're scanning any near field communication systems or QR codes, that's laser technology systems. So anything that, if your kids are Pokemon going, that's a form of augmented reality, artificial or AR, virtual reality systems that are being implemented and tested into your cell phones and devices. So any type of gaming platform, these sensors are used for that. So when I discovered that with the IR and the proximity sensors attacking her body from that, so basically how they were doing it, it was through an Echolink station. Echolink is a software that does coordinate back with Elon Musk. It does connect with, it works similar to Starlink communication systems. This is more for brain-computer interface systems. So basically they were transmitting it from the cellular device, the mobile station. Her cell phone was on the move. She was moving, so it was connecting to a ground tower, which would transmit into a receiver, then use the Echolink software system, and then go from one area to another. So we discovered the different type of software and the equipment that was being used to formulate the attacks and how they were transmitting those attacks through the cell phone.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So yeah, just moving on, and again, with all this in mind, it's all sort of connected. Other statements that were captured in this report aided me in understanding an electricity bill that I have received around the same time that this phone call was made. So I received a bill and the usage was not correct at all. At the time of this call, I wasn't actually staying in my own home. So the usage, it was just not correct at all. I could prove that I wasn't staying at home as well. So we have details in the communications, which we believe explain that the criminals involved in this were sabotaging my electricity bill. They were able to single out my electricity meter in a building with over 300 apartments and the meter which was located in the basement of the building. I did manage to resolve this situation by begrudgingly having a new smart meter fitted and a new consumption test was done. And this bill was reduced down from over £3,000 to just £48 for less than a month's worth of electricity. In accompaniment with this, also, I was going back to my home to water my plants and collect my post and things like that. And on one occasion, again, around the same time of this phone call being made, there was a knock at my door with two men. They had badges on and jumpers depicting the name of a company. And they did a pat test and said that they had been in the basement to check my meter. When the engineer came out the next week to fit the smart meter, I asked him about this and he was really baffled. And he said that nobody from their company had been sent to my property before him ever. Had I been able to act upon this sooner, I may have been able to get CCTV footage of these two men, but they were not from my energy company at all. But Amy, if you could go into explaining how they actually achieved this, that would be good.
Now, with the smart meters and smart devices, those are a little bit because the companies itself, the power grid, it's connected to, all right. Certain technologies are connected to the power grid as weapon systems. And when we're looking at the script here, using a script behind the AI or behind the power, that statement is referring the artificial intelligence script. So there's a program that transmits through the power lines and the grids that can connect inside anybody's homes of a person that they're targeting. Now, when that connects mainly into the fuse box, which can connect into different frequency switching operation systems and converting that power. So what they do is when they remotely access the meter through either the company or through a side channeling attack, let's say it's a side channeling attack, all you do is need a microwave transmitter. You could do it via radio waves to do a side channeling attack, and you bang into those signals, you hack into those signals into the live streaming capabilities. Then you could gain remote access into those smart meters or the fuse box in the electrical grid system. And basically what they do, just like any hacker, your hackers draw your power. So if they're in your cellular device, your power battery is going to drain in your cell phone. Same concept here. They were hacking into the smart meter through a side channel attack using the radio waves, and they were drawing power to formulate attacks on Alison. So, and they can keep pumping that power through the electrical grid system and keep it rotating to where it comes into an astronomical amount of money. So,
Okay, thank you, Amy. The last aspect of this report that we're just going to touch upon is, if you could move to the next slide, please, Amy. Thank you. So during the week leading up to this and the week after, things for me were ramped up, to say the least. As we've just explained, there was my electricity bill, two unknown males attending my home. There was definitely something strange going on with my devices. And due to these chest pains, I couldn't sleep. It led to days on end of sleep deprivation as well. And we've got statements here such as Crush Alison Week, which you can see on the slide. Now, what this basically means is, and this is common with Amy and many of her other clients around the world, is that those that are logged into these chat rooms are treating this almost like a game. They can reduce prices and access to the technology, similar to like a sale in a supermarket, half price goods week and things like that. They can earn points and work in teams and treat it in a game-like fashion, similar to strategical games that people play on a computer. Everything that happened in these 2 weeks was, again, all in a very short space of time, coordinated and fully in line with what was going on with me at the time. And there are also some other statements which seem to suggest that personal documents like my medical records and even this actual report we're discussing from Amy are online on this platform for viewers to read and download at a cost as well. Amy, if you want to do a short part about your findings, the typical findings among your clients about this, that would be good.
Most of the clients through the gaming components, what they do is they remotely connect inside of the drones, different positions. So one could connect to the tail, one could connect to the wings, the right and left side. They could connect to the radar sonar machines in there. They could connect directly into the camera systems that are built in there because of the sensors that are all inside of the drones. So they gain access into these drones, and then they usually play modern warfare games. Different types of games that I've captured are anywhere from football, baseball, poker, are just some of the different types. And they work off of teams, and whoever accumulates most of the points basically win the game, and they gain awards, free tickets, free passes. A lot of them are related to child human sex trafficking rings. So if they win, then they get to physically rape a person. So gaming components are a little bit different per person, per victim, and they are live streamed through the camera systems by direct access into the weapon systems that are being used, whether they be the drones or laser technology, different satellite systems, boats, nautical. They could even connect to television screens using the Tempest. And that is the type of software that can be used to see through the television screen and be able to live stream in people with real time. So the gaming mechanisms are point-based category. They buy different pulses, different energy sources, and then they hit that person with that energy source, which is point of the directed energy weapon. So
Okay, thank you, Amy. So just in summary, and if you could just move on to the final slide, please, Amy, and thank you for doing the PowerPoint. So details captured in this report and all of Amy's reports are very important because they explain certain elements of a person's personal situation. I mean, this report allowed me to piece things together and complete a full timeline. And had I had the chance to act immediately, there was some important information that I could have obtained. We know that certain statements do not prove X, Y, or Z, but there are many things which are just a given, such as they know my name. They know Amy's name because it is mentioned in this report, so they know I'm talking to her. They know where I am, where I'm living, that I'm on the phone, what the phone call is about. So much, so many details, and it's really important. And again, had I been able to act on this straight away, I would have been able to obtain some decent information. But obviously it takes Amy time to conduct the analysis portion and then to also write up the report as well. But just to give another example, in my first report from her, we had a particular male who mentioned the name of a street, which was directly across the road from where I used to live. And then they say they're going on a coffee run and ask other people present in this chat room if they want coffee as well. So this means that there's more than one person, probably in the same property or maybe in a number of properties. But on this particular street, I've walked down it. There are only 20 houses on this street. And there's only about 3 places you could get a coffee from without traveling a good 2 to 3 miles further out. So again, had I been able to act upon this straight away, I absolutely believe I could have gotten hold of some CCTV footage and been able to try and act upon this. But yeah, the time had lapsed between the report being written and the audio analysis being conducted. So yeah, we're basically trying to explain Amy's work, forensic methods, and the importance of them and what they could lead to. So I think we can conclude there. And